Welcome learners. In this video, we are going to discuss about backward and forward linkages. In supply chain management, there are various types of linkages that exist between the different players, those who are involved in the process of supply chain. Two such types of linkages are backward and forward linkages. In this lecture, we will explore what backward and forward linkages are and how they impact the supply chain. Backward and forward linkages are two critical aspects of the supply chain and management process that involve the relationships and instructions, the interactions also between different entities within the supply chain. In this lecture, we will discuss the definition, importance and examples of backward and forward linkages in the supply chain management. The first is about the definition of backward linkage in supply chain management. So backward linkage refers to the relationship between a company and its suppliers. It involves the flow of goods and services from suppliers to the manufacturers. This is backward linkage. These backward linkages are critical because they ensure that the manufacturer has access to the raw materials and other inputs needed for the production of the goods on time, with a proper mode of transport, without any damages, without any spillage, spoilage, anything. So from the manufacturer, we are very careful that as a supplier, we are very careful no goods should be returned from the manufacturers. So the suppliers must choose a line or a supply chain in such a way that the raw materials should reach the supplier, that is the manufacturers, and the manufacturing process should not be disturbed because of this late supplies. Example of backward linkages in supply chain management. Some examples we can just go through it. The number one is the car manufacturers sourcing steel from steel manufacturer, and also he gets engines from various other people, and he will be bringing the steel to his own place. Then the clothing manufacturers sourcing the cotton from a cotton farmer, and this is what we call it as the backward linkage. So anything before the production which will be supplied to the manufacturing unit is the backward linkage. So that link of supply chain should be ensured. The computer manufacturers sourcing microprocessors or the chips, RAM, everything from semiconductors, anything from some other company for assembling. So in each of these cases, the manufacturer relies to provide the raw materials needed to produce the finished product. Without these backward linkages, the manufacturer would not be able to produce the product. That's what nowadays directly from the suppliers they are getting the materials. I gave one of my video as that the Reliance concept called farm to fresh. So the farm to fresh is that one such methodology. From the farmers directly it will be coming to their retail outlets, retail chains, the chain of stores, Reliance smart markets. From the farm it will become fresh to their shops. So this type of operations are very much needed in this. In each of these cases, the manufacturers relies on the supplier for the raw material supply, and the importance of this backward linkage in the supply chain management. So there are several reasons or the factors which influence the a linkage of this backward linking of supply chain. They ensure that manufacturers have access to the raw materials needed to produce goods. Number one. So they should have the access for it, and they help the manufacturers reduce cost by sourcing raw materials at the lowest possible prices. And they also that's what they this is the way they can retain the manufacturers or their customers in turn. The suppliers customers will be retained, and they allow manufacturers to focus on their own core competencies, such as in the product designing and product manufacturing, the quality checkings, the marketings, storing of materials and other things, while leaving the products which is arrived from the supplier for as a raw material for their unit. That should not be a headache for them. If they concentrated more on the raw material supply, then they will be frustrated and they will not continue the purchase from the particular supplier. So they create interdependence between the suppliers and the manufacturers, which can lead to long-term partnerships and collaborations. That's what exclusively some suppliers will be supplying to particular firm. If you're going and asking also, they'll say that no, we cannot supply it on time. Emergency supplies are not allowed because they will have regular customers. So only to those people they are ensuring that the particular percentage of sales production what they are producing it will be supplied to them. And if they are not supplying, the ultimate manufacturer will lose its raw material supply. So they will be very clear on that particular point. Then what are all the factors which is affecting the backward linkages? Several factors can impact the effectiveness of backward linkages in the supply chain. One of the most critical factors is supplier reliability. If a supplier is unreliable or fails to deliver on time the goods, it can create significant disruptions in the supply chain. Another critical factor is supplier capacity. If the supplier's capacity is limited, it may be challenging for the company to obtain the necessary inputs in the quantities required. Finally, the location of the suppliers can also be impact backward linkages. As companies that source inputs from suppliers in remote locations, they may face larger lead times and higher transportation cost if they are from outskirts. For example, a supplier is in KL or the Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, then the outskirts is Shambhavam or Serempong. If they have to travel to that particular place, the truck alone is the only transportation mode. So it will take very high cost as well as the transportation time. That should be a good example that we have to take into consideration while we are talking about the backward linkages. Then we are going to the next concept, forward linkages in the supply chain, the definition part of it. So many definitions are available, but forward linkage refers to the relationship between a manufacturer and its customers. It involves the flow of finished goods from the manufacturers to the end user or to the end customer. So forward linkages are critical because they ensure that the finished goods reach the intended customers and generate revenue for the manufacturers. So the manufacturer is reaching the product to the end user or to the end consumer. See the examples, some of the examples of forward linkages in the supply chain. Some examples are, we can say again, the car manufacturer is selling the cars to the dealers, and the dealers in turn selling it to the consumer, and the cloth manufacturer selling the clothes to its retailers, And the same thing, the computer manufacturer selling computers to their customers directly. So in the first model you will have a dealership model, and the second one you will have a retailer model, manufacturer to retailer, and the third model is directly the manufacturer will sell it to the consumers. So in each of these cases, the manufacturer relies on the forward linkage to get their finished products to reach its end customers or the end users. Without these forward linkages, the manufacturer would not be able to generate revenue for their products, because the users are very much important here, and their satisfaction, their time management, and the availability of that particular material on that particular occasion or for the particular event is also very much important. And then importance of forward linkages in supply chain. So when you are talking about the importance, they are ensured that the finished goods are reaching the intended customers and generate revenue for the manufacturers, because the manufacturers are fully depend upon the production cycle when they will be getting their revenue back. So based on that revenue only they will be operating their working capital, and that working capital will in turn give them the next cycle fundings. So it also helps the manufacturers to build brand recognition and customer loyalty. So the customer feels it's so happy that if we are reaching the products on time, that they supplied it properly, and whenever I am giving an order, they will place me immediately. There will not be any waiting time. There will not be any delay in process. Everything will be apt. So they also will be satisfied, and they will propagate your brand also. And they are loyal customers. Even one or two times, if you miss the time, they will they will wait for you, and they will want to purchase only your product. And they create opportunities for the manufacturers to receive feedback from customers and improve their products. They can lead to a long-term partnership between manufacturers as well as the customers. So the forward linkages is nothing but sending the products from the manufacturer end to the ultimate end users consumption. And I think that will be clear, making sense. Next is about the factors which is responsible for the forward linkages. What are all the factors we have to consider it? Several factors can impact the effectiveness of effective forward linkaging in the supply chain. One of the most critical factor is the transportation. If a company's transportation network is most efficient or reliable, it can create delays, and sometimes it increases the risk of damage to the final product. So if it is not efficient, then you should not indulge those type of transportation facilities to the particular product. Another critical factor is customer demand. Companies that fail to anticipate changes in the customer demand will change then and there. See, the company should anticipate or forecast the demand that maybe they are not able to meet such demands of their customers during the heavy demand seasons, which may also lead to a loss of sales and reduced profitability. When there is a demand in the market, the manufacturer should keep ready with the stock, and they have to supply it immediately. Finally, the location of the customers can also impact forward linkages. As companies that distribute products to customers in remote locations, they face larger lead times and higher transportation costs, just like the backward linkaging time also. If the customer is in a very remote area, even you can see that Amazon delivery to certain places are not available. So they will be asking you to just give a available address. in a very narrow down villages in India, still even the transportations of trucks are also not available. The bus transport is also not available. In such places, telecommunication is entered. When they are ordering for online products, especially during the COVID, they were these places even we couldn't find out in the Google Maps. People are saying it. So to that extent, the online shopping penetration was happened during the COVID season. Then that is one of the factor we have to take into consideration, the longer lead times for the distances. Then we will have to compare the forward linkage with the backward linkage. Several differences are there between these two forward and backward linkages on the final product or service the customer who uses it, while the backward linkages are focused on the inputs of the suppliers and which is necessary for the production. So in the first point, the forward linkages are focusing on the final product or the end user's product or the services which is rendering to the customers. Whereas the backward linkages talks about the raw material supply from their suppliers, which will lead to only production, conversion of that raw material into finished goods. But those finished goods will be distributed to the consumers for consumption is the forward linkage. However, there are also some similarities between the forward and backward linkages. So both type of linkages, I can say that the sometimes one person's output may be an input for the other person. So that in that case, both the forward and the backward linkages are having a very tight relationship, otherwise called the similarities with each other. So both the types of linkages are critical for the smooth functioning of the supply chain, and both involve a relationships pattern and interaction with external partners. If the external partners are properly communicated with the proper informations and what is the requirement of material and what is the time of the requirement, what about the quantity, the quality, how it should be packed, if they are concentrating more on that and they will be supplying on time, these type of linkages forward, either forward or a backward, will be a great boon to the manufacturers as well as to the customers. So on the whole, the conclusion part of it, when we are coming to this, so we studied about what is meant by backward comparison, that is backward linkages and the forward linkages. So backward linkage talks about the raw material supply to the manufacturer of goods. Forward linkage talks about the manufacturing of manufactured goods which will be supplied to the market for the end users consumptions, which are the essential aspects of supply chain management process. Backward linkages ensure that the manufacturer has the proper access to the raw materials needed to produce their goods without stopping their production at all, with a cheaper cost, with a proper timing, and while the forward linkages ensure that finished goods are reaching the customers, intended customers especially, and generate revenue for the manufacturers, and they will anticipate the demand of the consumers also, and they will supply it as quick as possible. Some goods may not be durable products, it may be perishable in nature, so those type of goods also needs a proper linkage of forward nature, so that the customers will get it with the fresh products, fruits or vegetables like that. By understanding the importance of these linkages, companies should build stronger relationship with their suppliers as well as to, their dealers or their customers to improve their supply chain efficiency, and ultimately the reason is to satisfy their customer needs and grow their business to the larger extent. which is nowadays very much needed in the global trade as well as the international trade. People are very particular about the supply of materials. You can witness a lot of foreign orders which were rejected due to the proper linkages were not done, and a lot of order cancellations, especially the Tirupur banyan factories or the Erode textile industries faced a problem sometimes during the current failures in Tamil Nadu. They got cancelled so many orders because they could not supply the materials on time to their customers in abroad. So this was a very tedious process. The linkages. They should also find out the alternatives without stopping the production, how they can ensure themselves, how they can improve their production. They have to concentrate at. So, this backward and forward linkage concepts are very thorough. I hope so. And this is not a only matter of supply chain. It also bonds with the transportation process, the roadways or the mode of transport, what you are going to choose it, and the cost matters, as well as the distance also matters, and the geographical location also matters, because if you are in the hill station or in other places, that also matters for your linkages. Anyway, the forward and the backward linkages in the supply chain create a very good business environment, and by the way, you can earn lots and lots of profit. Thank you very much for listening to my lecture. I hope that this lecture will be a useful one for you. Read my further links for further clarifications. Thank you.